Hello students, we are going to study the topic digestive system in human beings of the chapter life processes. Okay, so in order to sustain life, what do? We respire, and yes, during respiration we take in oxygen. And one more thing we do. Do you all eat food daily? Yes. Why do you eat food daily? Because you need that for your life to go on. Okay, so total digestion, okay, we are going to study today. What happens when we eat the food inside our body, and yes, how it gives energy. Okay, so first of all, this when we talk about this digestive system, total nutrition in human beings or any animals, I can say. Okay, 5 steps are there: ingestion, digestion, absorption, assimilation, and digestion. Okay, so coming to the first step, that is ingestion. So what is this ingestion? Suppose in the breakfast you are eating bread or you are eating chapati, you are eating vegetable. You just break the chapati, take the vegetable and keep it in your mouth or put it in your mouth. Okay, just taking that chapati and the vegetable, keeping it in your mouth or putting it in your mouth, okay, is what? Ingestion. Okay, as soon as the food has entered the mouth, what do we have in the mouth? We have our teeth, we have tongue, and yes, saliva. Okay, don't forget that. Okay, so this teeth, when we talk about the teeth, okay, different types of teeth are there, isn't it? Incisors, canine, premolar, and molar. Okay, so incisors, when we talk about that, okay, this sharp helps in tearing. Okay, and premolars, molars helps in grinding, and this canines helps in cutting, chewing. Okay, so basically the types of the teeth are different and their function is different. So here, if we talk as a whole, this whole grinding and chewing of this food is done by our teeth. Okay, so once the food is chewed, okay, now there comes the function of the tongue and the saliva. So tongue, you all know, it helps in tasting different food, isn't it? Whether it is sour, it is bitter, or it is sweet. And yes, one more function of the tongue, okay? Yes, you can speak because of the tongue. That is also right. And how it helps in digestion. Okay, this saliva helps in mixing the total food which has been chewed, and it naturally when it is mixing with it, this saliva, okay, consists of salivary amylase. Okay, this salivary amylase, okay, what is that actually? That is the enzyme secreted by this saliva, okay, salivary glands, okay, and it consists of what? Salivary amylase. Okay, this salivary amylase is slightly alkaline in nature and it helps the starch or the carbohydrate, okay, which is in the complex form, to be simplified to maltose. That is partial simplification of what? The carbohydrate in the mouth. Okay, now what happens? This food, after the carbohydrate or the starch, we can say, has been partially digested to a simpler form, that is maltose. Okay, what happens then? It moves on, okay, to esophagus. But when it is moving on from this mouth to the esophagus, okay, there is a common passage, okay, that is the pharynx present. Okay, this pharynx is the common passage for the esophagus as well as what? The trachea. Okay, so esophagus, here the food enters in the trachea. When we respire, okay, the air enters through the trachea. Okay, so this pharynx, how does it function? Here, a flap-like structure is there. When you eat the food, the esophagus area gets open and the trachea gets closed. And when you respire, when you take in air, that epiglottis, what happens? This covers the trachea. Okay, sorry, it covers the esophagus. Okay, so Here, right now we are studying about digestion, so we'll be concentrating on that. Okay, so here what happens, the epiglottis now covers the trachea and the food enters the esophagus. Esophagus here, strong muscles are present, the sphincter muscles, okay, which by the contraction and relaxation allows the food to move on to the stomach. Okay, when we talk about the stomach, it is a bag-like structure, totally. Okay, and is divided into four parts: the fundus, the cardiac, the body, and pyloric. Okay, this stomach, what happens over here actually? We have seen the partial digestion of the starch or the carbohydrate in the mouth changing to maltose. And here the food is basically alkaline in nature. Okay, it is now entering the stomach. In the stomach, we'll be seeing that here the proteins are being digested. Okay, this stomach secretes, okay, number of enzymes. First enzyme is the HCl, second the pepsin, third renin. Okay, this renin, okay, secreted in the baby, in the body of the babies, basically the infants, okay, and the mucus. Okay, so talking about the HCl, first one, okay, what is the function of this hydrochloric acid? Okay, this hydrochloric acid helps in killing the bacteria. The food which has partially digested food which has entered the stomach, okay, might consist of microorganisms like bacteria and all. So this HCl helps in killing that, okay, and then it makes the whole medium acidic so that the pepsin, okay, can act on it. Because if it is not acidic in nature, this pepsin will not act, and if the pepsin will not act, proteins will not be digested. So it favors for this to make the whole medium over here acidic in nature, this hydrochloric acid. Okay, so now comes the function of pepsin, the second enzyme secreted by the stomach. Okay, this pepsin, what does it do? It changes the protein to peptones. So it partially digests the proteins, we'll be saying, to peptones. Okay, now renin. This renin, okay, in the infants it is secreted basically. Here, actually, what do the infants do? They drink milk. Milk, they drink milk. This milk consists of casein. Casein is a type of protein. Okay, it changes this casein, okay, or this partially digested casein into insoluble curd. Okay, you see that yes, the infants sometimes they give out. Okay, and that milk, after drinking, they vomit that milk, and that is in the form of curd. Why? Because here renin has acted on this casein and changed it into insoluble curd. Okay, now as this medium has totally become acidic now, it can destroy the stomach, isn't it? So for that, the stomach walls, okay, the goblet cells of the stomach walls, okay, secretes what? Mucus. So this mucus protects from the excess of HCl which has been secreted. And what happens when if it protects it, now the stomach will be proper functioning. Otherwise, this HCl, as it is too acidic in nature, okay, having a very low pH, okay, it will destroy the stomach, even the stomach walls. Okay, and yes, for more information, beta, okay, sometimes people say that yes, my heart is burning. Okay, what happens at that position? Okay, here actually what happens when there is excess secretion of HCl, okay, here you can see the cardiac region of the stomach. Okay, here it gets deposited or accumulated. Okay, and this cardiac region, the name has only came because this region is near the heart. And as there is excess accumulation of the acid, people complain of heartburn. Okay. Second, acidity also we can say, if excess of acid is there in the stomach. And how does this acidity occurs? Okay. If you don't eat your food properly on proper time, okay, acidity will occur because these acids are secreted with time. Okay, and if your body doesn't get the food, what will happen? That acid will not be used up and it will cause acidity. Second, if you overeat, what will happen? The stomach doesn't understand how much acid it should secrete. So, in order to digest that food, suppose a party is there, okay, and you have eaten too much, next morning you'll be complaining for the acidity. Why? Because too much of acid is secreted in order to digest whatever you have eaten last night. So, these are the two reasons of the acidity. Okay. So now here we have seen that yes, in the stomach, okay, the food, okay, has been partially digested. The starch also in the mouth, partially digested to maltose. Proteins also here we have seen partially digested to peptones. So basically the partially digested foods, the maltose and the peptones, as well as the other food present in that whole enters the small intestine. Okay. So here, when it enters the small intestine, okay, before that, one thing more I want to say, that yes, the partially digested food in the stomach is known as chyme, and yes, the food in the stomach remains for about 4 hours. Okay. So now, after that, the food enters the small intestine. You can see it is coil-like structure. Okay. This small intestine, it secretes its own enzymes also, and yes, it gets the secretions of liver as well as the pancreas. So what is the function of the liver? Okay, it secretes bile. Okay, this bile, after secretion, is stored in gallbladder. Okay, and yes, this pancreas secretes trypsin, lipase, and amylase, these three enzymes. Okay, so but the small intestine gets the bile as well as trypsin, lipase, and amylase. Bile from the liver, trypsin, lipase, and amylase from pancreas. Okay, so what is the function of this bile actually? This bile emulsifies the fats. What is this emulsification of fats? Okay, it actually, the fats, bigger molecules are converted into small insoluble droplets. Okay, and here bile is what? Alkaline in nature. Okay, now here the trypsin, what is the function of this trypsin? Okay, this trypsin, what does it do? It converts the peptones in the stomach to amino acid. Okay, and the lipase, okay, what does it do? The lipase, it acts on the fats to convert it into the simplest form, that is the fatty acid and glycerol. And the amylase, okay, what does it do? The partially digested maltose is converted into totally finely simplified form of the carbohydrate, that is glucose. So basically trypsin, lipase, amylase, okay, bile, these are converting into the simplest form. Okay, but yes, small intestine also secretes some enzymes which you'll be studying in the higher classes. Okay, so totally all helps in total full digestion of this carbohydrate, proteins, and fats, and totally they are simplified to the most simplest form. For the proteins, it is the amino acids. For the fats, it is the fatty acid and glycerol, and for the carbohydrate, it is glucose. Okay, so these totally simplified forms, the amino acid, the fatty acid, and the glycerol, and the glucose. Okay, it is absorbed also here, okay, from the small intestine, and it goes to the circulation, blood circulation, and here some special structures, the villi, they are finger-like projections, okay, are present. Okay, this you can see inside this, where the small intestine, okay, here magnified figure is given over here. These are finger-like projections, okay, where total circulation, full circulation of blood is there. Digested food gets absorbed over here. Okay, this villi helps in the absorption of this digested food. Okay, as well as it increases the surface area for the absorption of the digested food. From here, what happens? It enters the circulation. Okay, whole circulation in the blood reaches to different tissues and the organs, and their assimilation takes place, where this digested food, simplified food is used up in different activities. Okay, now what happens to the undigested food then? It enters the large intestine. Okay, the large intestine, you see a part, okay, totally at its apex, okay, pointed part that is known as vermiform appendix. Okay, at present it is said to be vestigial in nature, but yes, still the studies are going on. Okay, so this vermiform appendix, it was functionable in our ancestors. Okay, why? Because it helps in the digestion of the cellulose. Initially, our ancestors, they used to eat uncooked food, and this uncooked food, for its digestion, this appendix was used, okay, to digest that. Now, the undigested food, okay, this large intestine, you can see over here, okay, what does it do? It absorbs the excess of the water, because here the undigested food is consisting large amount of water and it is in the total liquid form. Okay, so here maximum absorption of water takes place, as well as the minerals, as well as the drugs which you all eat the medicines, I'll say. Okay, you all eat. Okay, that is being totally absorbed in the large intestine. And now, once the water has been absorbed, the undigested food, okay, in the semi-solid form, it comes and gets stored in the rectum. Okay, here bacteria is also present. Okay, now from the rectum, it is removed from the body or egested out from the body through anus. Okay, so this is how the total digestion in human beings takes place, and it works in converting the whole complex carbohydrate proteins and the carbohydrates, proteins and the fats which we are eating into their simplest form, so that it can be used by our body in different activities, providing energy and growing. Okay, so hope students you might have understood it. Good day, take care.